This is John for Oblivion's End Human coming at you with a quick deck tech over a deck that a lot of people should know, love, hate, loathe, whatever you wish to do with it in the format, and that is Winota. This is a card based around the card Winota, Joiner of Forces. Basically, you need a mix of humans and non-humans. Your non-humans cause your Winota to trigger. Look at the top 6 cards. You can put a human into play. Gains indestructible and it's attacking. So basically what you're trying to do is ramp into Winota with either Elvish, Mystic, Llanowar Elves, or Prosperous Innkeeper, hoping to attack with Winota on turn, or put Winota into turn 3 and attack with some amount of creatures to get some triggers. Beyond that, you have things like Voice of Resurgence and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Fable of the Mirror Breaker also helps with the mana conditions of this deck, allowing you to get treasure tokens from the 2/2 Goblin when it attacks. And then the rest of the deck is built around getting some humans into play. The most popular currently are Brutal Cathar as kind of a Banisher Priest-esque effect, and then Tolar Huntmaster. Used to be Angros Marauders, but this just puts more power on the field. So as to which ones are better, I've also seen Blade Historian in some builds, and also some of the builds that popped up in Explore, which is another video that we'll be making about. But the other addition to the deck of note from last time I played it is Sika's Chariot, which gives you a bunch of bodies, gives you another powerful 4-drop to play on turn 3. And overall, this is a very powerful deck that forces your opponent to have answers very quickly. The one thing about this deck is it is very mana color intensive, so this is not Modern or Legacy where playing 3 colors is free. So you're playing a lot of the pathways, and you're also playing quite a bit of the shock lands, with an emphasis on green to cast your Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystics on turn 1. And then Thalia is a little bit of disruption against the spell-based decks. Sideboard, you have a lot more disruption against the spell-based decks with things like Elite Spellbinder and Archon of Emeria, as well as Deafening Silence. Spellbinder, better against decks with sweepers specifically. Archon and Deafening Silence, better against the combo decks, whether it be Lowest Field or Arclight Phoenix, which isn't technically a combo deck, but does tend to like to play a lot of spells in one turn. And then 4 copies of Rending Volley. There's a lot of things this hits in the format, whether it be Thing in the Ice, Winota, etc. So this is a very powerful yet situational card in the meta. And then Nissa and Domri Rod as 2 or 3 mana plays that give you a little bit of play against the grindier decks, and gives you more things to bring in against those decks. Another new addition is obviously Fable the Mirror Breaker, which with Reflection of Kiki-Jiki allows you to copy non-token or non-legendary creatures, which allows you to copy things like Voice of Resurgence or Brutal Cathar or Tolvar's Huntmaster. Just kind of allows you to accrue advantage that way, in addition to all of its various, the Rummage effect on 2, the getting the Goblin on 3. This is a very underrated card, although you don't want too many of this effect in your deck, as once again you want to be primarily a creature deck, and then playing some, a little bit of interaction in the form of your creatures, much like, a Poor Man's Death and Taxes deck or something like that. So that's it. Let's get into some matches and see how the deck does. Alright, we're here for match number 1. We'll be on the play. This hand is good except for... And we have green, we just don't have white mana. Can we keep this hand hoping to draw white? I suppose it's got enough going on otherwise. Sure, attacks, great. So far we've played a lot of the control decks in the format. We've played combo. This one's kind of in between aggro and combo, so see how it goes. Meanwhile, I'm trying not to chuckle at the peanut gallery in the bedroom. I can still hear you squeak.
I wasn't saying anything.
I think you're talking louder in your head than you realize. Waiting as my opponent decides what card they want it off of their Oath of Nissa. A Kiora Behemoth Beckoner. Okay, so we're up against what looks to be possibly Green Devotion. Which has a new combo finish with it. Which really gets... Okay, maybe that's not Green Devotion. Interesting. No, Overgrown Tomb is part of it. Never mind. Okay, so we pitch. Yes. Pitch this. So if I go to combat, I can play Thalia. Card up to 2 cards. It only currently has 2 devotions. They don't net anything from Nykthos. So they have access to 4 mana this turn. So Uncarriated. So Uncarriated. Okay. Alright, so okay. Get another Winota attacking, we'll keep that one. Brutal Gathar doesn't do anything, unfortunately. It goes to 8. Play an elf post combat and pass turn. I know they have a Kiora in hand. Beyond that, I'm not really sure we know what's going on with their hand. Probably a bunch of Planeswalkers. They didn't play a Mana Dork on one. Okay, now they suddenly have a 1-mana Dork. So that's kind of net neutral with a Nykthos, because that adds them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They have quite a bit, access to quite a bit of mana this turn. Especially with Kiora. That's why some people have started referring to this as more of a goldfish format, because we had a decent draw ourselves, but we're not quite up to the power of what our opponent's doing. So if they play Kiora, it'll go down to 1 mana because it'll be 4 mana to cast. Back up to 6. But that would tap their mana dorks, so then they can't block. So Thalia really is messing with their math, it seems. Okay, 6 mana, sure. Into Karn. Don't think Karn can get anything here that matters. I guess Cage. Alright, we just had lethal on board even through that line, so. Alright, so. We might want to bring in our anti. Spellbinder might be fine. Cathar's okay-ish. Voice is just like adding to the amount of stuff, but not really that good at it. That might be too slow on the draw. Alright, what does this hand do? It does things and it does stuff. So we'll get to go turn 1, Land of War, turn 2, Thalia, turn 3, Winota. Sure. Okay. Let's get access to 5 mana here. 6 mana. Question is, what did I do with it? Okay, so that's the one spell they're going to play this turn. You're going to fight Thalia. Get one trigger this turn. Hopefully it's a good one. Could have gotten the bigger board presence, but I think getting rid of Pelucranos is fine there. And while they have some way to manage creatures, usually Pelucranos and Hydra, get 2 triggers this time. Nothing off that one. And okay, our guys flipped. Control, fight start, whatever. Okay. Sure. Fortunately for them, we have a backup Winota in our hand. Aw, they didn't let me resolve all my triggers. No fair. Alright, back here for match number 2 on the play again, which is nice, obviously. Guess we'll try it. Yeah, we don't have Winota, but this build's a little less all in on Winota. So like our opponent is on Phoenix, perhaps? And I forgot to play my elf. Nope, they're on Izzet control. Do I play around Anger of the Gods? Feels like an Anger of the Gods in our future, but pieces of the puzzle. Okay. Alright, and our opponent concedes. Interesting. These help us grind a little bit. Neat Spellbinders and Archons could be okay. Brutal Cathars are okay in some small number. So, yeah, orcs are likely to die to a certain degree. Innkeeper, Voice, Brutal Cathar. Does Fable do enough? Sam just doesn't do anything. Which one are we interested in putting back here? So Cathar gives us an out to Thing in the Ice, at least temporarily. Archon obviously disrupts them. Spellbinder disrupts them. Winota and Chariot. So maybe Winota, crazy to say, right? But Winota may not be in its best in the all burn spell matchup. Joke's on them, we got nothing. Izzet Charm, okay. So let's look for some type of Izzet combo deck. They're Arclight Phoenix with Pieces of the Puzzle, Galvanic Iteration. I am completely confused. Sure. So we'll get a Phoenix back. Curious to see what our opponent does here. They are a weird mix of things. So, treasure cruise incoming. Really have not seen a ton of Phoenix so far in the games we've played. Short of course, pitching another Phonics. Fortunately, we can't double spell, so... It's hard to imagine our opponent not being able to do something here. Okay. Do you have a bolt or something to finish it off? If we had one more land, that would be potentially lethal. But let's take a look at what their hands got going on. Okay. And braid too. Ether Gust, Ether Gust. Hand's a bit awkward and needs to draw mana, obviously. Maybe I'm not supposed to just keep the 2-land all 4-drop hand. But Deafening Silence slows them down. Nissa can get a little bit going if we draw a 3rd land in time. Okay. What you gonna do, friend? Okay, hold up blue mana. Land, please. And it's a quasi-land, I guess. Okay. But still can only cast 1 spell this turn. Land, please. Thank you. Okay, another expressive iteration. Okay, do you have an Ether Gust? Okay. Alright, and our opponent scoops. Nice. Alright, back here for our third match. Once again, we don't have Winota in our hand, but this hand seems pretty reasonable and functionable overall. Not quite sure what our opponent's on though. Looks like it could be a mirror. Maybe, maybe not. Alright. Past our opponent here. Oh, it seems to be stuck on. What kind of hand do they keep? Okay, so mirror it is. Okay. Brutal Cathar taking one. was a bit of a poor tack with Thalia. Yep, here comes Winota. Okay. This exile or dies? Sacrifice it. Okay, so either which way. They're getting an obnoxiously large token. Just don't think we survive this turn. White or blue? Yep, so they get a Brutal Cathar back, which gets to take. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Gamekeeper isn't going to do it. Alright. These two come in. Ending volleys probably come in. Although, yeah, I guess they hit Cathar and Winota, which is probably good enough. Go down that. Thalia is not particularly great in the matchup. So we will try. This hand's got a whole lot of air in it, it feels. Put one of the voices back. Hope we get a little bit lucky on mana here. Kind of awkward now, we need red mana, but we still have access to Brutal Cathar. Okay. Sure. Yeah, I think this is why Winota's gotten so scary, is they're a lot less all in on Winota. Sure. Punk gets 3 triggers, which is obviously scary. Nothing. Brutal Cathar, taking out what? A waste, maybe? They get to gain a ridiculous amount of life, so unless we hit a red source, we're in some trouble. Yep, needed to draw a red source on a mulligan, and just didn't do it. Oh well. Alright, we're back with the wrap up here with Winota. This is a deck that really doesn't need much introduction as far as what it does. You know, one thing I wanted to illustrate in this particular playthrough was, you know, how powerful the secondary plane can be. Obviously, maybe not in the mirror match, but it's pretty good against control decks or decks that are trying to be more controlling. You know, a lot of people, or a lot of decks, fear Winota specifically, and then just being able to go back on this game plan of Chariot and Huntmaster, just putting a bunch of bodies in play, and then if they don't answer it, or if you disrupt their ability to cast a bunch of spells, you know, against their thing in the ice and force their thing to flip and whatnot, you know, it is quite an interesting little dynamic that you put opponents under, you know, whether they, you know, have the resources to hold up things against Winota like Ether Gust, or whether they have to deal with the board and then you're able to reload with another thing. You know, the other thing, shout out to Lara the Hydra there. You know, it was a really key card in one of our matchups. You know, having another attacker, forcing our opponent to interact with that, also being another creature that also triggers Winota whenever it attacks. So you kind of get this sneaky thing out of nowhere. You know, you can't really afford to play too many man lands or anything in this lane of base. As I said, we got to see how shaky the mana could be a little bit of points. You know, this is one of those decks that might benefit from a Triome or two when it comes out in the new set. I don't know how many tap lands you can really afford to play in a primarily aggressive shell. Maybe you're supposed to play another copy of Mana Confluence somewhere in this pile. That'd be something you have to know as you play the deck more and more. But, you know, once again, we're just kind of getting back into the format. We're just kind of doing overviews of decks. Kind of wanted to showcase this, as this is one of the top aggressive decks in the format, and I tend to gravitate more towards aggressive decks than control. But that said, this has been John for Oblivion Sun Gaming. Hope to see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.